student. Today we are going to start the new chapter, chapter 5th of 9th science. The name of the chapter is the fundamental unit of life. In this chapter, we have to learn about the cell and cell organelles. What is cell? Cell is the functional and structural unit of life. But before understanding the cell, let us understand the concept given by the scientist about the cell. First, Robert Hooke. In 1665, he discovered the term cell. He had observed the cell under the primitive microscope. That means the microscope was not well developed. It was designed by himself only. And he had seen the cell for the first time. So he discovered the cell. Second come Leeuwenhoek. In 1674, he had seen a free bacteria through a microscope. But it was somewhat improved microscope. Third, Robert Brown. In 1831, he discovered nucleus. Nucleus which is present the center of the cell. So the nucleus was seen with the help of microscope by Robert Brown in 1831. Next is Purkinje. In 1839, he discovered the term protoplasm. He gave the term protoplasm. Now what is protoplasm? The liquid, the fluid which is present inside the cell, in which here the organelles are there, okay, and the nucleus is here. So that fluid which is present inside the cell, that was seen, observed by the scientist Purkinje in 1839. Fifth, Schild in 1838 and Swan in 1839. He gave the cell theory. What is cell theory? That every plants and animals are made up of cell. That means cell is the basic unit of life. Next, sixth, that is in 1855, Virchow. He concluded that, or he gave the theory that every cell arises from pre-existing cells. That means a new cell always produced or formed from the pre-existing cells. It cannot be formed artificially. Okay, now let's discuss about the cell. This is the structure of animal cell. And here, this is the plant cell. Now here, in animal cell, the outermost is called cell membrane. Is called cell membrane. But in plant cell, there are two layers. So the outermost is called cell wall, which is rigid. And the inner one is called cell membrane. That means in animal we have only one membrane, one layer, while in plant cell there are two outer coverings. The outermost is cell wall and the inner is called cell membrane. This cell membrane is also known as plasma membrane, and the function of this cell membrane is to check the entry and exit of the material. For example, oxygen. The cell needs oxygen inside, and when the carbon dioxide is increased inside, is taken outside. So with this cell membrane, by the process of diffusion, the oxygen goes inside and carbon dioxide comes outside from the cell. So exchange of gases takes place through this membrane. So what is the function of this membrane? To check the entry and exit of the material, the gases. Okay, now for example, the cell needs water. When there is the need of water, the water will go inside the cell. And when there will be excess of water, the water will come outside from the cell. And this takes place by the process known as osmosis. So exchange of gases takes place by the process of diffusion. What is diffusion? The movement of gas molecules from higher concentration level to lower concentration level. That is known as diffusion. Same is osmosis. Now let's try to understand the meaning of osmosis by doing one activity. Okay, I had taken a simple water, and I had kept a resin in it, which we called kishmis. I had taken two such plates. In one there is a salty water. In one there is a salty water, in other there is a normal water. Now I had taken two resins and they are kept inside a plate. Inside, one is in a plain water and other is in a salty water. After 6-7 hours, you just see the change. What had happened in this case? In this case, the water enters from outside to inside the cell. Whereas in this case, in this salty water, I had taken a very salty water. So what had happened? The water from the cell comes outside from the cell. So what is osmosis? Osmosis means movement of water molecules from higher concentration of water to lower concentration through semi-permeable membrane is known as osmosis. Okay, now osmosis. We had taken a water, I had kept a cell. What happened to the cell? The water is plain, so the cell become plumpy. That means the water moves from beaker to the cell. That means water is going inside the cell. The concentration of water is more in beaker as compared to the water in the cell. So water will move from higher concentration to lower concentration. So that solution is called hypotonic solution, where the concentration of water is more. Now isotonic. Suppose I take a water and a cell. Now here what is happening? No change in the size of a cell takes place. That means the amount of water which is coming outside is equal to the water going inside. So there is no change in the shape. So here this solution is called isotonic solution. Now the third, I had taken a very salty solution and the cell is kept inside. So the cell shrink. Okay. So actually what had happened? Water comes outside from the cell. So the cell shrink, and such solution is called hypertonic solution. So again, all are osmosis process, but the amount of water going inside is more as compared to the water coming outside in this case. The water is coming outside also, but that is very less as compared to the water going inside. So our cell becomes plumpy. In second case, here the concentration of water inside and outside both are same. So the amount of water which is coming outside is equal to the amount of water going inside. So there is no change in the shape of the cell. So this solution is isotonic solution. Now the third one is hypertonic solution. In this case, what is happening? The concentration of water inside the cell is more, whereas this is very salty water. So the concentration of water is less as compared to the cell. So water coming outside is more and the water going inside is less. So our cell shrinks. So these all are the process of osmosis, and these all are the types of solutions. So in osmosis, how we will define the osmosis? When the water molecule, the process in which the water molecules moves from higher concentration of water to the lower concentration of water through semi-permeable membrane is known as osmosis. Okay, so this is all about the cell membrane. So cell membrane perform the osmosis process for the entry and exit of the water molecules. Now let's talk about the nucleus, which is present in the center of the cell. Now this nucleus contains chromosomes, which are rod-like structures, and actually when they are matured and seen through the microscope, electron microscope, we can see the two threads, and these two threads are called chromatids. They are called chromatids. Now, and the center is called centromere. Okay, so this is the structure, actual structure of chromosomes. But when it is in the nucleus, it seems like a rod-shaped structure. Now, these chromosomes are responsible for carrying the heredity material from parents to offspring. Now, the fluid which is present here is known as cytoplasm. So, this is nucleus. and the fluid is called cytoplasm. Now this nucleus has double layered membrane, and that membrane is known as nuclear membrane. Okay, now see here. The membrane of cell is called cell membrane or plasma membrane. The membrane of nucleus is called nuclear membrane, and it is double layer, and there are some pores. Okay. And inside that there is chromosome. Now these chromosomes contain DNA, that is deoxyribonucleic acid. Again, DNA, deoxyribonucleic acid. Now this DNA is responsible to carry the heredity material from parents to offspring. Okay, now this DNA have a small segments, and that is called genes. So nucleus play a very important role in cell division. The main function of nucleus, this is the most important part of the cell, and it plays a very important role in the cell division process. Okay, now let's talk about prokaryotic. Now, those cells whose nucleus are not well developed, the nucleus is primitive, the nuclear membrane is not well developed, they don't have nuclear membrane, the chromosomes are just in the center of the cell. So that cells are called prokaryotic cells. Most probably in few bacteria, the cells are prokaryotic. And those which have well developed nucleus are called eukaryotic cells. So by seeing the nucleus, we can divide the cells into two categories: prokaryotic cells and eukaryotic cells. Prokaryotic means primitive, the nucleus is not well developed, while eukaryotic cells means the well developed cells. Now in our body, there are many types of cells: muscle cell, blood cell, nerve cell, ovum, sperm, bone cell, fat cell, ovum. This is present in female reproductive organ and found in females. Sperm, that is the found in male reproductive organ and is found in male. So these all are the different shapes of cells which are present in our body. Now in plant cell, there is one extra layer outside, and that is called cell wall. It is rigid as compared to the cell membrane. So plant cell have cell membrane and then cell wall. While in animal, there is only cell membrane. In animal cell, there is no cell wall. Now let's talk about the cell wall. Cell wall is made up of cellulose, and it gives a structure. Therefore, the cell of animal is like this, while the cell have a particular structure, a perfect structure in the case of plant cell. Now it is made up of cellulose. It gives a strength to the cell and provide rigidity to the cell. Okay, now the fluid present inside the cell membrane and outside the nuclear membrane is known as cytoplasm. That is the fluid, the liquid in which many organelles of the cells are present, like mitochondria, lysosomes, ribosomes, endoplasmic reticulum. So all these organelles are present inside the cytoplasm. We will learn about all these organelles in our next session. So in this session, we have learned about the cell membrane, in plant, cell wall and cell membrane. Next, about the nucleus. Next, nuclear membrane and cytoplasm. Cytoplasm is a fluid in which the organelles are present. So next time we will talk about the organelles of the cell. Thank you.